Try to picture this. Tens of thousands of years ago, deep in a humid forest, an early human stumbles on a pile of fruit that had already fallen from the tree, rotting with a sharp, sour smell. Instead of walking away, he eats it, and his body starts feeling strange, light, a little dizzy. There's this weird sense of pleasure, one that makes him want to eat more and more, until he forgets he's supposed to be watching out for predators nearby. The next day, he goes back to that exact same spot, not to find something more nutritious to eat, but to chase that exact same feeling again. So here's the question. Was that the very first moment the early human brain understood what we now call craving? If addiction has actually been around since way before the word addiction even existed, how exactly did our ancestors manage to resist that temptation? They didn't have ads trying to talk them into it, no apps designed to keep them hooked, not even a single expert warning them about the dangers of addiction. All they had was instinct, and it turns out, instinct doesn't always side with common sense. Before we go any further, there's one important thing we need to understand. The human brain has a reward system, and it runs on a chemical called dopamine. Every time you do something that improves your odds of survival, eating, finding a mate, successfully escaping danger, your brain releases dopamine as a kind of reward. It feels good, so you want to do it again. Here's the simple version. Dopamine is basically a point system running in your head. Every time you do something beneficial for your survival, you earn points, and your brain takes note. Hey, that felt good. Let's go find more of that. This system is actually pretty genius because it's what kept our ancestors hunting for food, seeking out mates, staying alert to threats, all without having to think it through, just following that feeling of, this feels good. Picture an early human brain with no reward system at all. They'd get lazy about finding food, lazy about staying alert, and end up going extinct before they even got the chance to reproduce. But here's the thing. That exact same system could also get hijacked by certain substances found in nature, way before there were cigarette factories or modern liquor. Those substances basically trick the brain into thinking it just got something crucial for survival, even when that's not actually true. So the real question isn't just, were early humans capable of getting addicted? It's more like, how far back does this ancient reward system actually go? And what's the difference between that and our situation today, where these trigger substances are everywhere and way more powerful? Let's start with the most surprising one, alcohol. Turns out the human relationship with alcohol isn't exactly a new story. There's a theory called the drunken monkey hypothesis, which suggests that our primate ancestors, millions of years before Homo sapiens even existed, were already used to eating fruit that had ripened to the point of fermenting on its own, naturally. That fermented fruit gives off a small amount of ethanol, natural alcohol, and it turns out primates that could smell that ethanol had an easier time finding ripe, calorie-dense food sources. So for our ancestors, the smell of alcohol wasn't a warning sign. It was actually a signal that said, there's good food around here. Over time, the early human body evolved a specific enzyme called ADH4, which breaks down alcohol into energy far more efficiently than in other primates. Pretty interesting, right? That means our body's ability to process alcohol isn't some coincidence. It's the result of millions of years of evolution, the result of natural selection favoring the individuals who were best at taking advantage of that scarce calorie source. But hold on. This doesn't mean our ancestors were getting drunk every day like it was a party. The alcohol content in naturally fermented fruit is way, way lower than in man-made beer or wine. Usually just around 1 to 2%. Nowhere close to modern liquor, which can be many times stronger. So does that mean they were immune to the temptation? Not necessarily. Because once early humans figured out intentional fermentation, roughly 10,000 plus years ago, right around the same time they started farming wheat and grains, the whole story completely changed. There's even a theory suggesting that one of the reasons early humans started settling down and farming wasn't just to secure a staple food supply, but also to have a stable source of ingredients for fermented drinks. Sounds kind of funny, right? But it actually shows just how powerful that drive was. Powerful enough to be one of the reasons humans completely changed the way they lived, from moving around constantly to settling down in one place. And this is just the beginning, because the more humans learn to process nature around them, the more concentrated the substances got that could trigger that reward system in their brains. Now let's talk about sugar. For us today, sugar is everywhere. Easy to get. Just open the fridge or walk to the corner store. But for early humans, sugar was rare. And the single most concentrated source of it in nature was honey. There's archaeological evidence, and even cave paintings thousands of years old, showing early humans risking climbing dangerously high cliffs, fighting off thousands of angry bee stings, all just to get their hands on a beehive. Why go to all that trouble? Because their brains were already wired to chase down that sweet source of calories, since in the wild, sugar meant fast energy that was rare and valuable. A brain that found sugar would dump out a massive hit of dopamine as a reward for successfully getting a hold of an energy source that was crucial for survival, especially for early humans whose day-to-day physical activity was intense, walking dozens of miles, carrying heavy loads, climbing trees. The problem is, this system was built for a world where sugar was hard to come by, where the chance of finding honey might only happen a handful of times a year, depending on the flowering season and whether wild beehives were even around. Now picture that exact same brain system, one that was designed for scarcity, suddenly having to deal with a world where sugar is everywhere, sitting on every corner store shelf, packed into every drink, even sneaked into food that doesn't even taste sweet at all. Our ancient brain was never given the memo that one day sugar would be that easy to get, just a 5-minute walk away, or honestly, just an order away from your couch. So it's no wonder so many of us struggle to say no to sweets, even when we logically know it isn't good for us, because our brain is still reading that signal as a rare opportunity you need to grab right now. It's not about weak willpower. It's about an ancient reward system being forced to live in a world that's totally different from the one it originally evolved for. A world way more tempting than our ancestors could have ever imagined.
Turns out, early human fascination wasn't just about food. It was also about plants that could change how the brain worked. In a cave in Spain, archaeologists found remnants of opium poppy seeds believed to have been used by humans as far back as the Mesolithic era, thousands of years before recorded history. On another continent, ancient tribes in South America had long been chewing coca leaves to fight off hunger and exhaustion while doing hard labor at high altitudes. There's also evidence of tobacco and hallucinogenic plants being used in ancient rituals, usually led by a shaman or spiritual leader, meant to communicate with the spirit world, according to their beliefs. What do you think it would have felt like being the first early human to discover the effects of these plants? Most likely, it started out as just trial and error, maybe out of curiosity after watching an animal act strange after eating a certain plant, or maybe out of desperation, looking for something to treat an illness or wound that just wouldn't heal. But once they felt the effects, whether it was a sense of calm, a burst of energy, or strange visions during a ritual, their brain filed that experience away as something valuable, which meant it was worth chasing again. The difference is, back then, access to these plants was extremely limited. You had to find them in specific places, grow them with careful attention, wait for a specific season, and their use was usually tightly regulated by tribal customs or religious rituals, not something anyone could just use freely. In fact, in a lot of ancient cultures, these plants were considered sacred, only allowed to be used by a shaman or ritual leader, and only on specific occasions, not every single day. Nothing like today, where you can just go buy it, or where it's easily misused with no clear social boundaries at all. But don't get comfortable yet, because there's one fact that's about to make this whole picture look completely different from another angle. Beyond substances you eat or inhale, it turns out there's another kind of addiction you might not have thought of, an addiction to danger itself. Think about it. Hunting large, dangerous animals was an incredibly risky activity. You could die at any moment from one wrong step, one badly thrown spear, one misread movement from the prey, or even just plain bad luck running into a pack that turned out fiercer than expected. But early humans kept doing it anyway, generation after generation, passing down that technique and courage to their kids and grandkids. Why didn't they learn their lesson? Because the moment they succeeded, the brain released a mix of dopamine and endorphins that created this overwhelming sense of victory, intense pride, intense relief,
way stronger than ordinary happiness. That feeling was so powerful, it became a reason to take on risky situations again later, even to seek out even bigger dangers, just to chase that even more intense win. This is also why so many people today go looking for that same rush through extreme sports, mountain climbing, skydiving, illegal street racing, even gambling. Because the pattern in our brains is still exactly the same as the ancestors who chased danger for that chemical reward. So addiction isn't just about substances entering the body. It's also about experiences and sensations that hook our brain into wanting to repeat them, whether it's through taste, through the chemical effects of plants, or through fear that transforms into pride.
Okay, here's the part that changes everything. Turns out addiction isn't a bug or a flaw in the human brain. Addiction is actually a feature, the result of an evolutionary design that used to work incredibly well to keep our ancestors alive. The same reward system that made them chase honey, fermented fruit, medicinal plants, and danger during a hunt. That's the exact same system that made them a species that managed to survive all the way to today. The problem only showed up once modern humans figured out how to concentrate all those stimuli. Refined sugar is way sweeter and way purer than natural honey. Distilled alcohol is way stronger than fermented fruit. There's even brand new stimuli now that never existed in the ancient world at all, like social media notifications, where every single ding releases a tiny hit of dopamine, over and over, way more often than our ancient brains were ever used to getting that chemical reward. Even fast food is specifically engineered through years of research to hit the exact taste points that make it hard for our brain to stop eating. A combination of sugar, salt, and fat in ratios that never existed together in the wild, not even once. Social media apps are designed by teams of experts who understand exactly how dopamine works. Also, you'll keep scrolling, keep checking notifications, even when you consciously know it's a waste of time. So our brain, which was originally designed for a world of scarcity and hard-earned effort, where that chemical reward had to be fought for by climbing tall trees or hunting dangerous animals, now has to live in a world that's deliberately engineered to deliver that stimulation constantly, easily, cheaply, and in excess, with zero effort required.
So, back to the question we started with. Could early humans get addicted to something too? The answer is yes. Biologically, their brains had the exact same capacity for craving as our brains do today. The only difference is their world just didn't offer access that was as easy or as concentrated as ours is today. Their alcohol was diluted, their sugar was rare, their medicinal plants were limited by season, and danger could only be found through serious physical effort. Now, all of that is just one step away. Sometimes literally just one click. So if you've ever struggled to say no to something sweet, struggled to put your phone down, or gotten hooked on a certain rush, that's not a sign that you're weak. It's a sign that your brain is still running an ancient program that's been around for thousands of years. Except now it's living in a world that's way more tempting than anything it was ever designed to handle. This isn't a reason to just give up, though. Understanding this can actually be a tool. Because once we realize the enemy isn't ourselves, but an environment deliberately engineered to keep triggering that ancient reward system over and over, we can actually get more strategic, whether that's distancing ourselves from the trigger or staying fully aware every time that urge shows up. Maybe understanding all this can help us be a little gentler with ourselves, not as an excuse to give up, but as a way to recognize that we're up against a system that's way older than we ever realized. A system that existed long before the word addiction was even invented.
If this video made you rethink your everyday habits and see yourself in a whole new light, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss out on more videos digging into the side of early humans that rarely gets talked about, but somehow still sticks around in how we live today. And don't forget to drop a comment down below. What modern habit do you think is really just a new version of some ancient instinct? Is it late-night snacking? Is it not being able to put your phone down? Or is it something else entirely?